Savvy Central Radio, drawing out the best from our guests, with host Christina Nichman.
Savvy Central Radio is proud to present a live interactive series featuring a new mix to business networking and interviews. Our second event will take place on May 23rd at Tornasaw Wellness in Manhattan with our guest, Rochelle Khanna, licensed clinical social worker. She'll share with us her new book, 30 Days of Prayer, Healing Autoimmunity for Women. This event is for health professionals, fitness experts, alternative care professionals, and anyone looking to create optimum wellness in their life. To find out more, book your free ticket today at bit.ly.com/savvyevent, 2. That is bit.ly.com/savvyevent, 2. Hello everyone, and welcome to Savvy Central Radio. This is your host, Christina Nichman. Each week on Savvy, we host successful individuals and business owners, inviting them to share their dreams, stories, wisdom, and lessons learned in their field of business. Our guest today is Kim Ades, author, speaker, entrepreneur, MBA, coach, and mother of 5. Kim is one of North America's foremost experts on performance improvement and self-development through thought mastery. By using her unique process of coaching through journaling, she works with motivated clients to unveil and switch their thought patterns to ignite significant organizational change and personal transformation. As president and founder of Frame of Mind Coaching, Kim also trains hundreds of coaches yearly on the art of coaching and incorporating journaling into their coaching practice. To find out more about Kim and her practice, go to frameofmindcoaching.com. Hi, Kim. Welcome to Savvy Central Radio. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing fabulous today. I'm excited to have you out. You are a coach of a wonderful business called Frame of Mind Coaching, a very unique coaching business. What led you to becoming a coach and creating your business?
Well, years and years ago, I used to own a software company, and we used to build simulation-based assessments. And those assessments were designed to help companies, corporations make better hiring decisions. And so we tested hundreds of thousands of people, and we discovered something very interesting as a result of all that testing, is that there was really only one key differentiator between top performers and everyone else. So there were things that were important, certainly given the job, but we discovered that if a person had a high degree of emotional resilience, they were going to be more likely to succeed than anyone else, regardless of position and regardless of industry. So that was a really interesting piece of what led me to here. When I thought about starting a coaching business, I looked at the coaching industry. And by and large, the coaching industry helps people reach their goals. They say, what kind of goals do you have? Let's create a plan, and let's help you break that plan into manageable components. And let's create actions to help you achieve your goals. And I thought to myself, but none of that really addresses emotional resilience. If we know for sure that emotional resilience is the key to success, maybe we should coach people in that area and help them look at how their thinking is impacting their results. And so that's how I got here. I ended up creating a business that focuses on thinking, emotional resilience, mental toughness, thought mastery, and here's where we are.
So explain for our audience who might be thinking, what the heck is emotional resilience? What is it?
Emotional resilience is really the ability to bounce back from a negative situation or adversity with speed and agility. So something happens to you. You get divorced. You have a death in the family. You get hurt. You lose a job. Just something bad happens. And the question is, we all fall. We all get kicked. How long do we stay down? And how quickly can we get back up? Those people with a high degree of emotional resilience, not only do they get up faster, but they take their adversity, they take the thing that happened to them that was tough, and they turn it into something good. They leverage their adversity.
And that's interesting, Kim, because I've heard of people who during great misfortune have turned it around and said, okay, I'm going through this really difficult time. And then they create a product or service or information that transforms the world based on whatever difficulties they have. And the perfect example I heard about was a woman who had cerebral palsy and was in a wheelchair. And she said, I can never get around. The car I have is so complicated. It's an SUV, and getting myself into the car with the wheelchair is so cumbersome that I rarely go out of the house. Well, she got together with a company overseas, I think in Czech or Yugoslavia, and they have a one-person car where you wheel your wheelchair straight into it. It's called Kangaroo, I believe, and then it just closes behind you, and bam, you're able to start driving.
That's a great example. Fantastic example is leveraging your adversity and turning it into something useful and good and valuable for others.
Wow. So what makes your approach to using emotional resilience and thinking and such different from other coaching programs? And I know you mentioned that other coaching programs were not using this idea. How do you use the way you do it to help people out there?
So when we coach people, we're really interested in how they think and how their thinking impacts their results. So let's take you as an example. Some of the way you think leads you to great results. And some of the way you think probably gets in your way, only you're not aware of it. It's invisible to you. You can't see it. And by the way, for anyone who's listening, it's the exact same thing for you too. We're all in that boat. We all have ways that we think that propel us to success and ways that we think that slow us down. So when we coach people, we're really interested in people's thinking patterns, in their behaviors, but only so that their behaviors give us information about how they think. So when we coach people, we begin with 10 weeks. There's a call once a week. Every call is recorded, and we want our clients to listen to the recording. We want them to hear how they sound, the language they use, their tone, their emotions. We want them to start observing their own thinking. It's very, very powerful. And people who listen to their recordings really accelerate their coaching progress really significantly. After that, what we're doing is we're asking clients to journal every single day for the duration of the coaching period. So they get a journaling question, they journal, and the journal goes to their coach. Their coach reads and responds to the journal. And this is happening every single day for the whole entire period of their coaching. It's very intense and it's very intimate. And what happens is they travel a huge distance in a short period of time.
Wow. When I heard about how your coaching practice works, I was really intrigued because I think I told you prior to our interview that I've used journaling for a number of years, and I've mentioned it quite a bit on my show, how beneficial it's been. And just as an example, many years back, or 2 years back, I haven't been in business more than 3 years, but 2 years back when I had just started doing sales calls and all, I was not having a fabulous time, and I was really having a very difficult time. And I had one particular call, which I've mentioned, where I kind of conceded and gave away free services. I felt horrible about it. But the interesting thing was, after the call, I wrote about it. Like, what was this all about? What was going on here behind me giving out this free service? And I remembered many years back, back in corporate, about maybe 10, 15 years ago, someone asked me, do you buy friends by giving them free things? This was someone in corporate because I would always treat people and bring in goodies and treats. And she said, do you buy friends? And I got livid and angry and thought, how dare you say that? But now I remembered that story. I remembered her asking that. And then it hit me that I'd always been trying to prove my self-worth by giving to others. It was not altruistic. It was not because yes, I like to give, but the giving behind it was really, please like me, please accept me, please find me worthy.
Well, that takes great courage, right? But what happens when you get to that understanding? What happens when you learn the beliefs that drive your behavior? And the beliefs in your case are something like, when you accept who I am, then I'm worthy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When you buy from me, then I have value. And so when you start to see those beliefs that are driving your behavior and they're actually become visible to you, your beliefs start to shift, particularly when they're challenged. And when your beliefs start to shift, your behaviors start to naturally shift. And then so do your outcomes. It's kind of magical, but that's exactly what happens.
So I know others out there will think and probably say, because this has happened to me, well, do I really need to write out the stuff? Can't I just say it or, just tell someone about it? Why is it so important to write it out?
Well, yeah, it's a great question. Number one is that we want our clients to get in the practice of journaling so that they are picking up a tool for self-management. Mm-hmm. Right? At the end of the 10 weeks of coaching, of course they can continue coaching with us, but we don't want them to feel like they have to. We want them to walk away with a set of tools that say, I know how to manage my thinking from here on in. And so the journaling component allows them to do that. So what does journaling do? It gives them a place to unload. It gives them a place to reflect. It gives them a place to problem solve and clean up some of the beliefs that are getting in their way. And it gives them a place to dream and vision and plan their future and and the things they want for themselves.
Mm.
So the journaling component is a hugely valuable tool for them. Having said that, on the coaching side, why do we get our clients to journal? Other coaching programs don't do that, or a lot of coaches say, yeah, you go journal, but there's no interaction. What are we doing? We're removing our own blindfold from the coaching process. What does that mean? In order for me to really effectively coach you, I need to know exactly who you are. Mm. And it's not enough for me to have a 1-hour call with you once a week. That doesn't really allow me to really get to know you. When I'm collecting data on a daily basis about who you are, what's happening, how you think about what's happening, I really get to know who you are and understand how you operate. I understand your triggers. I understand your values. I understand your past experiences and how those influence you or impact you today. I understand your relationships. And I just don't have enough time to gather all of that in one call once a week. So I need a lot more data. And I also need the ability to pick up patterns. Mm. So the data becomes really important for me to start to really understand how you tend to behave, how you tend to think, and where that thinking comes from.
Wow, that is very insightful. And I betcha there's quite a few coaches out there going, well, that would just add so much work to my plate if I did something like that. But I can see the value in how that you're able to help clients a lot more effectively and more deeply by doing it this way.
Well, and it's an interesting question, right? So if there's any coach who's listening out there and you're thinking it'll add more work to your plate, it might definitely add a little bit more work to your plate. But I will tell you this, it will also add a great deal more success to your coaching, a great deal more impact. So part of the fear that coaches have is, how do I know I'm going to succeed? Really, it's in the client's hands. But in my case, it's not. It's entirely in my hands because I'm equipping myself with the information I need to be able to deliver phenomenal coaching every single call.
That is very powerful. For me, what I've noticed about journaling in particular is it clarifies your thoughts. Like you think, well, I can just speak or think the things in my head. I don't need to put them on paper. But what I've noticed, like I said, with that past story about noticing how I was with the people pleasing and wanting to get my self-worth from outside of me, had I not put that on paper, I wouldn't have seen the, as you said, pattern that was reemerging continually and how it was behaving or coming out of my life.
Well, and what's interesting about your story is that at one point, the person who asked you, are you buying your friends? That offended you. Yeah. A few years later, you were looking at it and saying, well, I'm not buying my friends, but I am doing something here. Let me take an authentic look at it. And something happened where you were able to look at it without feeling offended.
Yeah. And that brings to mind here, if you are working with someone and say a pattern emerges where you're like, okay, this is, say maybe my subject is coming up for you on them and they get offended, is it that they're just not ready for that information and it's just whenever they are ready, or can you help prepare them to receive the information?
Well, when someone signs up for coaching, typically they are more ready, right? They're not always 100% ready, but they are a lot more ready. And really, we're not there, we certainly don't say, are you buying your friends? But we're asking what's fueling this behavior. And so when we ask in a way that is completely, how do I explain it? We embrace them. We hold them up. So it's a safe environment where what we're just looking at is how their beliefs are impacting them. Now, the key or critical part here is that as coaches, we see the most brilliant, capable, empowered person in front of us. Mm. And we don't let go of that vision. In fact, our job is to let the client in on what we see. Right? And so when anyone hangs out with a coach who has that kind of vision for them, how can they get offended?
I see what you're saying. Someone had told me that their mentor said to them, they could see in them reaching this goal, this particular huge goal. And the person said, well, I don't believe I can reach it. And he said, well, can you believe that I believe you can do it and go with that? And he said, okay, I can go with that. So it was kind of like, I think what you're saying is your belief in them can help them rise to the challenge and overcoming whatever their obstacle.
That is certainly a huge part of it. Yes.
Yeah. And I gathered from you earlier when you mentioned them, you have them listen to the audio, that's a fabulous tool because I've listened to my own self. I told someone once that I did my first live speaking event and it was videoed. And I was horrified, I've mentioned this before, that I was playing with my pants the whole time, like lifting up my shirt and playing with my belt buckle. But besides that, I could hear the uncertainty in my voice and such. So I think when you do that, when you go back and listen to your audios and you have them listen to it, I'm sure they can hear maybe patterns or things that emerge for them that they didn't even realize was going on.
That's exactly right. They hear how they show up. Mm-hmm. They hear if they're interested, engaged. They hear the language they use. Language is super important. In a way, it's a bit of a gateway that tells us how people are feeling and thinking. Mm-hmm. Right? So we follow language quite a bit. And it's a huge indicator for us as coaches to help us understand how a person sees themselves, how a person sees the world, how a person operates in the world. So we teach them to monitor their own language as well.
That's fascinating, and I'd love for you to share with our audience some success stories of people who have worked with frame of mind coaching and how it's transformed their lives.
Perfect. Looking forward to it.
Go for it.
So lots of success stories. I'll give you a perfect example. One of my clients is a real estate broker. He lives in New Jersey. And now, I haven't coached him in many, many years, but when I started to coach him, he was really struggling. He was this amazing salesperson, but he was always in the red. He couldn't keep up. He had these agents, and every time he had a lead, he'd give the agent the lead, and then the lead would get lost because the agents weren't good enough at closing the sale. And he was just really struggling. And when we had him journal and examine what he thought of himself, it turned out that what he deeply thought of himself was that he just wasn't very intelligent. And when we explored why, it turned out, well, I only have a high school education. And as it turned out, if we took it another step further, people who aren't so intelligent, they don't really deserve to earn a whole lot of money. And so that profoundly affected the way that he interacted with his team. He wanted to please them. He gave them all the leads instead of teaching them how to hustle and get their own. And slowly, he turned the entire ship around so that he was keeping leads for himself. He was training and teaching his team how to drive their own leads. And literally, like within 6 months, I remember getting a call from him and he said, "Kim, you'll never guess what? I have $100,000 sitting in my desk drawer right beside me." I said, "What are you doing with $100,000 in your drawer?" He's like, "I've had my best month ever." I said, "Go to the bank."
Cash it.
Right? So the way he saw himself gave him an idea of what he was supposed to do. Which was, in order for me to be a leader, I have to be well-liked. In order for me to be well-liked, not so different from your story, I need to give away the leads that I get, even if they never close, because then I'm doing my job as a leader in this organization.
Well, that is extremely powerful. And the form coaches live by 4 core values that are essential to you helping your clients create the best results. Share with our audience a little bit about those core values and how they interact with the whole process.
Well, actually, there are 5 values, but I'll share them with you. Yeah, no problem. So our values are super important. We live and breathe our values. The first value is we want to be committed to personal growth. So not only are we helping our clients get into the realm of personal growth and personal development, our coaches are committed to their own personal growth. So only when they work on their own mindset and thinking and emotional resilience are they able to deliver that kind of coaching to clients. So personal growth is super important to us. The second one is we coach leaders, and we want to be leaders ourselves. So leadership impact is super important. We want to see the coaching that we do have a ripple effect in the world. And so that's why we focus on that particular market. The next one is innovation. The way we coach is different. Our attitude about coaching is different. Our philosophy of coaching is different. And our technology is different. So we're constantly pushing the envelope on how we coach, how we deliver coaching, and always want to make sure we're on the leading edge of innovation. The fourth value is generosity. And by that we mean generosity of time, generosity of spirit, always giving more than the client expects, and always giving to one another as team members, as coaches. And then the last one is intimacy. So the way we coach people, just the process alone breeds intimacy, but it's very important to us to become intimate and close with our clients and with one another as a team. Even we become very intimate with our business partners, whether they're vendors, suppliers, whoever they are, that we have that intimate relationship with them, and we are working from the same vantage point. We're on the same team.
That is fabulous. So anyone out there who might be a coach who feels really pulled towards what your method and wanting to work with you guys, how could they go about doing that?
So it's frameofmindcoaching.com. Come to the site. There's an assessment right there on the site. And if you are interested in becoming a coach, there's an opportunity to do that as well. Check out our team and see if that's something that you'd like to do. Now, keep in mind that every single one of our coaches has been through coaching first. And, we don't force them to do that. It just happened that way. They have gone through coaching, and what happens is they go, wow, this is unbelievable. I want to become a coach. Mm-hmm. And at this point, we want people to go through coaching first so that they can really wrap their arms around how we coach, why we coach this way. It is different from the vast majority of coaching programs out there. And so they have to have that personal experience. They have to experience the transformation as a result of the process. And then we look at certifying them as a frame of mind coach.
And that is very telling, because I think often in life we think that we want to get to the other side. We want to have finished the journey and reach success. And I think what we forget is it's an ongoing journey. Once you become a coach, even if you build a business, you start getting clients, it's not an ending process. It's a continual learning process of your entire life to continue to grow and be yet another greater person tomorrow.
You know what, honestly, I love what I do. I love the impact we have on people when we coach them. But the truth of the matter is, every time I coach someone, I'm growing by leaps and bounds. I'm learning. I'm engaged with someone where there's no doubt that I'm just expanding my knowledge, my abilities as a coach, my spirituality, my connectivity with others, etc. So every time I get to coach someone, I'm getting a gift. Hands down, no question. I coach and I get the rewards.
Yeah, fabulous. Also, anyone out there who is interested in working with you guys can go to frameofmindcoaching.com as well and find out how to work with you as a client.
Absolutely. Again, right there on the front page is an assessment. Now, this assessment is a little bit different from the norm because, there are some questions, but once you get into it, there are some journaling questions. So we ask you questions, we ask you to stream of thought your responses, and once your assessment is completed, it goes to one of our coaches, and you will receive a complimentary coaching call based on your questions, based on that journal that you wrote. So it will be as though you will have an experience of frame of mind coaching. It's, that call alone has been super powerful for so many people.
Yeah, I love that. And I remember my first mentor did something like that, like a 3-page form she had you fill out with some, written questions you had to answer in extensive questions. And I think that's also a way to weed out people who might not be all that serious and ready to take the step, because some people looked at it and said, I'm not filling all that out.
Well, people know who we are. They know our brand, and they know journaling is part of the formula. So, nobody comes in with their eyes closed. They know what we're about. The other day I got like a message from someone on LinkedIn, and it was a former client, and she sent me an article on the power of writing in a journal. And then I'm like, okay, like people out there, they just know who we are and what we're about and what's important to us. And now they fill us with information from, out there that is relevant to us. So it's an amazing thing.
Yeah. And anyone who does just come across it, or anyone in this audience who, I'm not taking your coaching services, but I just know the value in particularly journaling. And so I will tell them, go check out your site. Don't be afraid of answering some journaling questions, because it's well worth it and what you'll get out of it in value. And like you said, you get a free coaching call so that you can go deeper in just one call there without any money down to start out with.
Yeah, that's right. It's completely complimentary. There are no strings attached. You're not forced into buying anything, but it really gives you a chance to reflect and look at how you're living your life and how your thinking is impacting everything you touch, see, smell, experience, everything.
Awesome. Is there any upcoming events or launches or workshops you'd like to share with the audience?
Well, next week I'm speaking at an event called the Women in Business Leadership Conference. So that's very exciting, and it's in Niagara. And I am participating in a telesummit as well coming up in a couple of weeks. And that'll be out there in public domain as well. So
Yay.
Excited to be sharing those two things.
Oh, congratulations. Anyone near the Niagara Falls area, that's where it is, right? Niagara Falls?
That's right.
Awesome. Go check it out. And everyone, please go to frameofmindcoaching.com. And before we head on out, Kim, is there any last words you'd like to leave with our audience?
Yeah, to be honest, there's a few things. When you're looking at your life and you're saying to yourself, why isn't this working out? What's wrong here? Why am I frustrated? I'm working so hard. I'm trying so hard. I feel like I'm banging my head against the wall. You need to kind of take a step back and ask a different question. And here's the question I'm going to give you. The question is, what am I thinking that's causing me to have so much frustration? What are my thoughts associated with this? What do I believe to be true about this situation that may be causing a slowdown or a roadblock? And so if you ask that question and journal about that question, you'll be amazed at how far you get. And again, I welcome anybody who's interested in exploring what's going on for you. Just go to frameofmindcoaching.com and we can happily discuss it.
That's fabulous. Well, thank you so much, Kim, for coming to Savvy Central Radio and sharing your wisdom and talent today.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks so much.
Savvy Central Radio is proud to present a live interactive series featuring a new mix to business networking and interviews. Our second event will take place on May 23rd at Tornassau Wellness in Manhattan with our guest, Rochelle Khanna, licensed clinical social worker. She'll share with us her new book, 30 Days of Prayer, Healing Autoimmunity for Women. This event is for health professionals, fitness experts, alternative care professionals, and anyone looking to create optimum wellness in their life. To find out more, book your free ticket today at bit.ly.com/savvyevent2. That is bit.ly.com/savvyevent2.